Nvidia previously updated their technology every 2 years or so. Since the surge in demand for its products as a result of the increasing effectiveness of AI, Nvidia is now planning a 1 year refresh cycle. The latest technology it is calling Blackwell and is scheduled to ramp in the fourth quarter of this year. But already, CEO Jensen Huang is calling demand for this upcoming product incredible. So let's take a closer look at the causes for this enthusiasm and what it could mean for Nvidia stock investors. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now. So in the conference call with Wall Street analysts on August 28, 2024, Jensen Huang said this: "The demand for Hopper is really strong. And it's true, the demand for Blackwell is incredible." Now, Hopper is the current generation technology, and Blackwell is what is coming out later this year. And the CEO saying the first reason is if you just look at the world's cloud service providers, the amount of GPU capacity they have available, it's basically zero. They don't have any capacity available. They're either being deployed internally for accelerating their own workloads, data processing, for example, or other workloads. And so they don't have any capacity for NVIDIA GPUs. And of course, they want to add more if as soon as they add more, it's getting sold out and it's being used either internally or renting it out to their customers. So it's already, even though they've already spent tens of billions of dollars on these products, it's already fully used, fully utilized, spoken for. And so it's understandable they are increasing their spending on NVIDIA GPUs. And because of this reason, and I've been following all of these hyperscalers all year long, in fact, for several years, and I've been seeing the use cases increasing and I've been seeing the return on these investments. And so I haven't been as skeptical as some other members, some other analysts on Wall Street talking about how they are concerned that the hyperscalers are going to pull back their spending because they're not getting sufficient return on investment on their purchases of this AI technology. And what the CEO of Nvidia is saying here is quite the opposite. What he's saying is everything they've purchased from us, it's already being fully, completely utilized. And there's more demand than there is supply available. So whenever you have that market dynamic, you'll usually see an increase in supply. Because if the market is buying it, the market will supply it. And that's what the CEO is highlighting here. And that's great news for NVIDIA stock investors. We talked about how they're either using it in internal workloads or they're renting it out. So customers of AWS and Alphabet and Microsoft's cloud segment, they can rent the capacity. So they're renting this capacity to model makers, they're renting it to startup companies, etc., but it's being fully utilized. There isn't any waste right now in terms of the capability of NVIDIA workloads and demand. It's fully utilized. There isn't any excess. The CEO goes on to say that although Blackwell will start shipping out in billions of dollars at the end of this year, the standing up of the capacity is still probably weeks and a month or so away. Just to give you an idea of how it works, NVIDIA will ship these out, but then it's going to take time to stand these up, to set these up, to connect them, bring them all together, integrate them, and get them working. So NVIDIA will ship them out, but then it'll take weeks or months for the companies to build them up and start to utilize them. So people are just clamoring to transition the $1 trillion of established installed infrastructure to a modern infrastructure. And what the CEO is referring to here is the existing data center infrastructure. There's been roughly $1 trillion of data center infrastructure that has been built before these infrastructures started switching towards the AI infrastructure or optimized for AI. And the main difference is before they were primarily built on CPUs and now they're primarily being built on accelerating computing platforms like GPUs that Nvidia provides, and also some custom chips that companies like Amazon and Alphabet are building to capitalize on specific use cases. These are more modern infrastructure, and the prior $1 trillion of infrastructure needs to be updated because the cost of operating that prior infrastructure is much higher than just spending the money and building this new infrastructure, because this new infrastructure will give you better results at a lower total cost of ownership because of the lower cost of energy consumption. The energy costs are soaring, and so if you just replace this previous infrastructure with newer infrastructure, the total cost of ownership is actually lower. It's not higher. So I think there's that another misconception there, that these companies are spending more money to get something that they're not yet monetizing as effectively. But when you think about it, these companies are already utilizing a great degree of computing power, and much of that computing power is being operated on inefficient systems, inefficient data centers. And so just by transitioning from that inefficient data center to a more optimized data center using accelerated computing, the companies will save money just based on their internal workloads. Just, if you're thinking about Alphabet, if Alphabet updates to a more modern data center infrastructure with accelerated computing, they'll save on their own costs, right? Alphabet generates so much computing, needs so much computing power to operate its Google search business and the YouTube business, that just by switching, the cost savings alone will be enough for Alphabet to switch out that infrastructure. And that's not even accounting for Alphabet's ability to rent out some of that infrastructure when it doesn't need it, or during times it doesn't need it, or off-peak hours, etc. So there's justification for why demand for these accelerated GPUs or accelerated computing platforms are so high, and the CEO, I think, articulates it very well here. He goes on to say that the people who are investing in Nvidia infrastructure are getting returns on it right away, just as I discussed earlier, right away, just in the cost savings, its immediate benefits show up. And it's the best ROI infrastructure, computing infrastructure you can make today. And I've seen that across the board. That's what companies are saying. Companies like Alphabet, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta Platforms, and others, this is what they're saying, that they're getting a benefit right away. They're not investing in this thing just because of the hype or just because of the popularity of it. They're investing in it because they're making their calculations and they're realizing this is a no-brainer. It saves us on our costs right away. It gives us competitive advantages. And if we're not using these workloads internally, we can rent it out and generate revenue in that fashion. And so I hope this elaborates, and I hope this explains why there's such strong demand for NVIDIA's accelerated computing, and why this demand will likely persist for several years more because of that backlog of $1 trillion in infrastructure that needs to be modernized. It needs to be modernized, and it will be modernized because the total cost of ownership will be lower than if you keep that old infrastructure. It'll pay you back relatively quickly. And so it's a no-brainer for these hyperscalers to continue making these investments. And then you have a broad base of other businesses that we haven't even touched on that are clamoring to get their hands on NVIDIA's infrastructure, but there isn't enough supply to go beyond those initial very high value use cases right now. But eventually, as we move along this curve, NVIDIA's supply will increase enough to serve even greater needs. Thank you for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. I know there's a lot you could be doing with your time and a lot of other videos you could be watching. So I truly appreciate that you chose to watch this one. If you want to see more videos just like this, hit the subscribe or the like button. They'll both help me make more videos just like this one. Thank you again.